We welcome you to our very first outing in the year 2023. The program is today with John and Helen, and we're reaching you, as always, from the studios of PlusTvAfrica here in Victoria Island, Lagos, Nigeria. We plan to bring answers to your many questions on religious fanaticism and the just signed bill on mental health and a lot more.
I see you were struggling from 2022 to 2023.
Yeah, we're still not connected there yet.
The very first week of the new year, it had so many trials, tributes, attractions, all kinds of things. You know, does anyone in particular stand out for you so far? 7 days gone?
Yeah, you know, I was talking to a couple of my friends who are in the East, and you know, the thing with the Easterners, they don't play with this season. Come rain, come shine, they're all back there. And I couldn't make it home to Benue State, and a lot of them are not yet back. And I said, why? And they said to me, many people who lost their dear ones in 2022 had to just shift the burial ceremonies to December and early January because of the security situations. Because they couldn't just be going home back and forth for ceremonies and all of that. And, you know, it said a lot to me, you know, concerning where we are at as a people.
In terms of security.
In terms of security.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Anyway, we want to wish them safe journey back. We're all waiting. We're all waiting to receive.
Because Lagos is still very scanty, if we can use that word, because a lot of people are yet, you know.
And you know what? I want to wish you Merry Christmas.
Why are you wishing me Merry Christmas?
I'm wishing you Merry Christmas because in the Orthodox Church, worldwide, and that involves countries like, even as close as Ethiopia, Egypt, Russia, you know, Christmas Day is today. Merry
Christmas on the 7th of January.
Yeah, because we operate the Gregorian calendar, which I talked about last week, and they are on the, I think, the Julian calendar. And,
so it's Christmas today.
It's Christmas Day today. Wow. Yesterday was Christmas Eve. And in Armenia, 6th of January is actually their Christmas Day.
Wow.
So it depends on which calendar you're operating from. So Merry Christmas to our Orthodox Christian listeners. Yes.
Okay, and also very important to me is the fact that INEC has come out, you know, with the schedule of how and when and where you can pick up your PVCs. We really do not have time again. We're almost out of time. It's just a week or two before they close that window.
Yeah,
so please, 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 please make time and go pick up your PVCs.
And that includes weekends now.
Weekends, yeah.
So you have an opportunity to do that.
True.
Yet another opportunity to do that.
And very quickly, the Lagos Ibadan Expressway, we hear that work is on hold at the moment.
They close it today, tomorrow they open. Now we hear that the work has been suspended again, just to allow for free flow of traffic. So all those dividers and all of that have been removed because schools are resuming. Most schools are resuming on Monday.
And there are a lot of schools on that axis.
Yes, and then
that's good thinking and good planning.
They will resume again.
All right.
So yes. So we should really intentionally throw away anxieties usually associated with the new year. It's just the start of another calendar year. And don't worry, everything will be all right.
Yeah, everything will be all right. So they say, exactly, no need for frenzy. The celebration and felicitation are like icing on the cake. So just pick up boldly from where we left it last year and just fly.
Wow.
Back to the meat of today's show. Our first guest is here seated. Please join us to welcome him. A friend of the house, counselor and spiritual therapist, Dr.Excel Adeleye Samuel. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man. Yes,
we're in Nigeria, so it's Happy New Year. It's not Merry Christmas.
It's good to be back here to meet the family.
Yes.
And you look good.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're looking fresh.
So Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.
So, I need to take you back on something you just did a while ago with me.
Yes.
An exercise. You said to me, on a scale of 1 to 10, where am I?
Yes.
I really don't understand that question, and I don't know the importance of everyone at this point in time to score him or her on where they are. What do you mean by that?
Okay, when I did that, I heard and I was observing you as we were talking, and I was trying to examine how are you emotionally and psychologically by the way you speak and your body language. From that, I deduce that you might be stressed. Okay. You get it in a bit. So in being sure about what I'm observing, then I ask you the question to rate yourself. Yeah. What are you between 1 to 10?
Yeah. Okay, and I said to you 8.
I said 8, but I said to you, no. I can see 7. More likely, then I question you for that to say, can you clarify that? Then you said, well, I have a lot of things on my table I need to work on, I need to do, there's a lot of things in my hand and all of that. Okay. So then I ask, are you going to better, are you stressed or is it affecting your emotions away?
Who is stressed in this part of the world? Excel, well, who is not stressed?
Yeah, it's how we manage it. That is key.
Yeah, I know also that it's used to measure pain. You know,
yes,
your doctor calls you, and you tell him I'm in pain, and he says 1 to 10, where do you place? If you say 1 or 2 or 3, it gives him an idea of how you really are. But we'll come to that.
I took us out the way up from the So back to the
well, I want to welcome you again.
Thank you
really,
so much. It's nice to be the first guest.
You're making history as the first,
Thank you.
as the first guest, to grace the show in the new year, and we're very happy to have you. Now, straight to the topic: religion and fanaticism in the family. Now, as a counselor, how much of a problem does this pose to the sanity of the family and the society, maybe?
Well, I think here in Africa it's a big deal. As we all know that 31st to 1st, crossing to the new year, churches don't pray for membership. Everywhere is filled up because we believe in the supreme being. The belief, either we learn it or we saw it or is resonated in us, make us be religious as a person. Okay? So it's hard for you to get to any African home, especially in Nigeria, you don't find a Christian or a Muslim. The guy may be on the beer parlor gisting and you ask him, what religion are you? He will answer you, he practices a religion. And some could be our tradition religion as well. So it's very key. Now, in our practice, I've seen that most families I've observed who are practicing their religion together. I'm not saying just going to the religious synagogue, for example, but they are intertwined in having a ritual about what they do in their home, have a tendency to grow together. And it's more likely when you observe that partners or families who don't practice same religion or who don't, when I say practice, I mean they're actively doing their rituals
together.
There's a kind of difference among them, and there's a kind of also not aligning or not having same core values as well. And so this, in a way, affects interaction as well, but some are able to manage it. In some home, you see Muslim and Christian, and you don't even know, and they love each other. They have strong bond. That means that home are able to build system that is beyond what they say they profess. They are being to create a kind of love, or there's a stronger foundation. I once had a meeting with a family, and one of the things they said to me, it was on a business, and they said to me, anything anybody say in this family, if none of us is around, that stands. And I asked them, why? He says, because, he said, because when our fathers were dying, they made it mandatory, and there was an oath that we also to say that we must all agree and be at peace, and anybody who go against that, we have this. So religiously, you can see that it helps, in a bit of way to shaping same core values and the same direction, the family, and all of that.
I agree with you. I know a few friends, Muslim husband, Christian wife, and when is the Muslim celebration season, everybody in the family is in the festive season, and they all come together. And when is Christmas, the Muslim husband also
celebrates,
and the whole family. And I've been amazed, at them. And they're such an awesome family, to relate with. So I agree that is possible, because at the end of the day, like you said, this family that took an oath that whatever anybody says is, goes for the rest. That one comes as more important than religion, so to speak. So that's a good way to go. Now, Fanaticism sounds like an extreme word.
Yeah.
What would be the opposite?
The opposite would be, for me, would be love. Would be love. Religion is not necessarily love, and we need to diversify it. And spirituality is not religion, as well. Spirituality, most importantly, define what love is. Say love is acceptance. I love the word that says love is unconditional. Love says not from just my eye, from my eye. Love shows some level of empathy. Love is kind. Love is unlimited self, you know. And that is the difference. You see, fanaticism itself is covered. The word you come up from fanaticism will be disorder, will be limited acceptance. You know, and so everything that comes out of fanaticism is limited, and it's about me, it's about my ideology, it's about what I believe, and I don't have to see from my heart, you know, and all of that. And when you notice that fanaticism has killed more people in the world than guns.
Okay. We'll come to that.
You get it now. That means that the extreme of religion to say that, I mean, if my God says so, I can kill, and I don't care. You know, and all of that. That's the fanaticism. And you find that same people in that same religion will say, no, that is not God. Because my God says I can't kill one soul either. You know. So, I mean, it's a big problem. And one of the problem of fanaticism, really, it is not having adequate knowledge of what you say you are practicing. Very key. And this happen even in studying, for example, in health, you know, and you don't actually know. Our people here use what we call agbo, you know, as a way, you know. And the problem why it has not been accelerated globally is that we don't know at what is the content of what I'm taking, and what is the measure of what I need to take, what is the quality of what I need to take, and that's where the problem is, you know. So, you know, and all of that. You want to come?
No, I was even going to say that your response, you know,
the opposite as love.
Yeah, the opposite as love.
Yes,
I would have said complacency. Maybe complacency would be the opposite of fanaticism, but we can argue it from that. But another thing of interest is that when you hear the word fanaticism, what pops into your head first is religion. Why so?
Because religion is like our life. Religion is one of the strongest things. When you look at the history,
next to the sports.
Yes, when you look at the history of the world itself, and the way the world has moved, and you will discover that it's bordered to religion as well. You could talk about the European movement. You can talk about the Roman Empire. You could talk about when Greek was in charge. You could talk about the England, you know, when they were in control. You can talk about the foundation of America. You can talk about the movement that is happening in the Arab world. These are religious beings as well, you know. And so we can't separate that, and you know, from religion as well. But I am of the opinion that we need to be seen beyond the religious angle to see in what way also even are we fanatic ourselves. Sometimes some people are fanatic about their job.
Yes.
Some people need to transcend or transport themselves into other profession. They need to seek something, but they just see it from that same angle.
Yeah, because
and
fanaticism will be applied to different.
As well, you know, some people is the way they look and they believe they are the most and all of that. So fanaticism goes in different aspects. It just depends on the definition we attach to it.
Sure.
That's right.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure. All right. As you know, this is a family show. And some weeks ago, we had Dr. Emmanuel, Lumide Emmanuel, and he was talking about, when we asked him why we have so much crisis in homes, in marriages, he said people do not prepare for the union, for the marriage, as much as they prepare for the ceremony. You know, so preparation is key. Now, talking about the subject matter for today, it sounds so infectious. It's like a philosophy. Yeah, you have tried to help us a bit, you know, on how we can make it better, if I can use that. So how do we further manage it within families? You know, how much role does the husband and the wife play, and at what point must this come face to face, you know, as very, very critical, you know, subject matter, and how should they go about it?
For me, as you asked us this question, it's a deep question, and as you also rightly expressed that the guest, Olumide Emmanuel, actually spoke about people not being preparing. For me, it will have been more that know thyself. Key, have a soul search. Now, everything that boils down to the way a family is formed and a culture is formed, it first starts from individuals. Now, in saying that, and I tell couples this, when there's a crisis in couples, the problem is not communication first, as we say. The problem is the individual themselves first. You know, so it is a deformed individual that meets another deformed individual, forms a deformed family.
Deformed individuals
meet a deformed individual, and they give birth to a deformed family. Okay? And even if one is well-formed, the other is not well-formed, they're still going to give back the same thing, you know, and all of that. So it is first do a soul search about you. I notice this, which is very prominent with us here, is that we are focused on what we want to give the family than giving ourselves. Forgetting about it's about what you have, you're going to give your family.
Wow.
You know,
what you don't have, you
don't give. So the other day I was writing about, on my post yesterday, I was writing the unspoken killer called depression on men. Most men functions, which we have said they should be, they function, but they have not even addressed themselves. Sometimes, even most times, they don't live in their own life. I bet you that if you do a statistic and say, most men, are you living your purpose? Are you doing what you want? No. They are doing what needed to be done for the family, as their father has done, and as the community and the society expect them to do, so they never live their life. Suddenly, everybody will go and mommy will go and do omugo, and the guy will be alone, and he will still die that same way without fulfilling his own purpose. So my own will have been, we need as a person first to do a soul search about ourselves and tell ourselves the truth. Out of personal revival, then me and my partner can build and say, do you know what? How do we shape this family with love? So
how do we link that to the subject of today?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So how do we now begin to build this family, have a core value for this family? Okay, and we look at it. Don't forget that when these two healthy people can now build the core values together, which is healthy, they will not be extreme. Okay. You get this now? Okay. They can together now shape what is the values of this home. How long do you want this home to live after we are gone? So that the policies, the vision, the dream of this home can still live. There are families in this part of the world that we can see. If we mention Rockefeller, something comes to your mind. The Jeff Kennedy, they comes to your mind on something and all of that.
Yeah.
It might be done deliberately or not deliberately, but there's something that is working. We might need to also borrow wisdom from those people that is working with. That business that is living for generation upon generation as a way. But most people or family don't have this at the back of their mind when they are building. They build because I need to. You get it now? And it stops at that box. As a matter of fact, it's more likely that we will not meet our goal. So that's why a lot of people even don't meet their family goal. The same way we don't meet family goal.
This is rather deep.
Wow.
Dr.Excel, are you sure you're not just back from the mountains and the hills somewhere? This is very deep. This is very deep. What
so it's not about the other person. It's first about...
No, you said about first you first.
First you first.
And on that basis, we can build a solid foundation. It is the ground that the family will build on.
Yeah.
You get it now? So I think that is very critical. And I encourage people for the beginning of the year, you can do a soul search. You can take a break from work. You can take a break from the normal activities and go for a soul search. I love the story of the founder of Apple, who at the point in his life when business was going to go, went for a soul search somewhere in India and all of that. And do you know the truth? The founder of religion has proven that they wait for a soul search. So the Prophet Muhammad was in the cave for numbers of days to hear God. The Lord Jesus Christ, the Christian followers, also was there. You can mention most of them, you know, had that soul search on the basis religious was built. So individual may need to build their own religion for the family, as it were, you know, for the family, but they must be first be a soul search to generate originality.
That's right.
To now build on.
So John just used his third eye to say you're back from. Yeah, you're just back from the mountain.
Thank you. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You know, and well, because today it looks like we're working on words and definitions and descriptions. Let me throw another one at you. When you talk about fanaticism, fundamentalists, the word fundamentalist pops up. Why? What's the association? Why is it so easy to readily, link fundamentalists and
you see, fundamentalist as a word is not that bad, and I will look a little from different structures and do a scientific observation of it as a word. You see, something, when they say something is fundamental, you see, it means also you have some level of structure.
Okay.
And as we can see that in America especially, they use those bottle language to define some political arena.
Exactly.
You get it now? And then we have observed that it seems that the world is going beyond control, that we need some fundamentalists to control things. So what we are saying indirectly is that we are getting out of order.
Yeah.
What there needs to be a caveat is, at what point does it also now offend others and make life miserable?
Yeah.
As it were. And that is what now make extremists become a problem.
Fundamentalist, extremist.
It does not make other people happy. But the religious, even that gave birth the fundamentalist standing himself, means that at a point he's not making other people happy. So I think that is what we need to look part time. And sometimes in life, what really didn't look good may be really nice in the other way.
Because on the face of it, extremists.
Because yes,
on the face of it,
yes,
extremists.
Exactly. I mean, let's look at the last World Cup hosted by Qatar. We could say globally that Qatar is an extremist country because we are aware of the ban that was put on Qatar saying they were sponsoring terrorists. But if you look at the World Cup has been described as about the best World Cup that ever been.
One of the friendliest.
I mean, people had a lovely time, though there was order. We can call them fundamentalists because you can't drink, you can't do prostitution, all of that.
Yeah.
But it's working as it were. And that's what makes Ronaldo to say, he's not a Muslim. He has signed up for a Saudi Arabia country which you regard as fundamental.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we need to look also the positive in that.
Okay. All right, looking at the positives now. Is it also true that religious fanatics prey on the vulnerable, the vulnerability of the families especially, or the younger ones whose, faith foundations are still shaky?
Yes, they do. Sometimes they do with good intention.
Okay.
But I call them something, and I said they are uneducated spiritual people. And I will define what that means. They know, but they don't actually know. And this is what it means.
They think they know.
Yes, and this first happened. Let me say the first time where you feel people are very fundamental. It first happened for their first year or second year or accepting their religion. They will say, let me say it in Yoruba, they will say, Ogbe sorry. And anything you put, like I put my cap, you can say it, and all of that. But as they grow also in it begins to be not what they put on their head, but what shows in their character. Okay. And when it also now begins to show in their character, it begins to affect everybody positively as well. So they pray, they do, forgetting that you don't need to pray for people. You can use your attitude to let people work. When you drop at Itro, they don't pray that you work well. The environment and the character of people tell you that you don't have to do some things. And when you get to Nigerian airspace, as the plane lands, the character of the people, you don't pray it, shows that you have to rush. As if there's one evil spirit. You have to rush. And all of that. So they do, but they do based on their knowledge.
Sure.
You get it now? But over time, some are free. But over time, but it's also seeking further knowledge that clarifies that. Unfortunately, some don't grow off. They go even worse. At that point, I also advise people around them to be careful and to protect themselves. Because some also use, in quotes, spiritual prophecy to control people's life, and they're in captive and all of that. So individuals also need to protect themselves, especially people around them. And sometimes, even often for parents, you see parents say, we saw vision that you should not marry this person. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's incorrect. But you need to know at what point it's not. And I can't bet you. See, let me share also this with you. I've noticed this in my line of work, that families who also become so extremist to direct the affairs of the home become fallen family most times. And not that, especially those who say, I went to pray somewhere, and they said this and this, and suddenly a guy who is married to a wife for 15 years begin to say that he's not prospering because his wife or the family of the husband
is not prospering.
And do you know that the people believe in those prophecies more than they believe in other things, and they begin to control and shape them? Loads of family has been lost, and load of family has been scattered just for that. And it's hard to change it. Even when they come for sessions, they hold on to what they saw or what they heard based on all of that. So it's very important that the family also guide themselves.
Mindset.
It becomes.
We've seen it in the news a lot of times where, you know, someone says, a spiritual leader says, this house help you have is the reason, you know, there's wahala in your home, you know, she's taking away everything, your glory, and
they say all of that.
They and all that, and they burn, you know,
they burn hand and all. They do all of that. Because I asked them a simple question. I say, when these people have left or before they came, were you that richer than Big Gate? They say no. Now they have gone. Are you richer? Then it now become a problem. Is that, you know, there's something called learnerlessness, where you can't help yourself. You are tied to it, and it becomes to control your life. Despite you're not getting result.
Wow.
Yes, stop.
They've now fallen into that.
You can't get
they fall into that pit.
Okay, since we are going a bit spiritual, let's look at the issue of salvation. You know, because most times you find that salvation is at the core of fanaticism. You know, why does salvation now have to come at such a high cost? Because we know that fanaticism is high cost. Well,
you see, the simple word to put salvation is the word save. So somebody feels that I need to have a better life, and the way to have a better life is to be saved from the unproductive life they went before. You get it now?
Freedom
and to freedom and all of that.
Yeah.
And that's why those who have some level of comfort of life don't feel that they need some level of salvation. And that's why Nigerians get to some environment that is organized. They don't feel they need the salvation, the religion they are out on. But they feel that I don't need all that, because what I need this salvation for, I have it in quote and all of that. So salvation for humanity is a place of looking for survivor. So we then were told that the survivor of your life is up there to a man or a spiritual person in the sky, and we need to look for that.
That's why you find soccer.
Yes, it's the adventure of looking for survivor that live for salvation, to be saved from the predicament we are in or the predicament that can happen. That's the definition of that. So it then now be that when people get it, there's also saying that I still need it to survive. That's why people lead on to religion. So those who said, you know what, I don't need it. For example, I tell people, well, I say, how do you preach for Bill Gates or preach for the top guys who have everything about called to be saved? They ask you, what to save from what and to what? Because he will say to you that I save a lot of people from dying from COVID. So what do you say I should save for? Because you didn't do it. So what do I say you should save for? So salvation means looking for liberty and freedom.
The hereafter or here? Or now?
Both. As the individual believing.
Yeah.
So some says, I believe here is heaven and I will live it well. Some believe, that is there, I don't have to live this well, and all of that. Depending on the ideology individual lead on to. And because salvation also comes to the world with faith, so their belief now comes in and they just work with it.
Okay. So with all the pain that is associated with fanaticism, why do so many followers, you know, still remain under the umbrella of these so-called, you know, leaders? Or
I think number one, lack of self-discovery. Straight. Lack of self-discovery first. Now, that is why you see religious people fight each other, because they feel that I have discovered myself from this particular line of religion. Why should I accept yours? But there is a deeper discovery than what you are told you are. And I've noticed that those who have that personal discovery also now need to challenge the religion they are into or they want to enter. And now, because one of the things religious also do with people is that it shut down their brain from thinking. As a matter of fact, that's what we call extremism, because your brain stops functioning and your brain only functions by what you are administered to do.
Yes, you're not thinking for yourself.
So that is why observing more religious people can produce, because they are taught about how to get to heaven or live this life in a way. But most people who have worked in the capacity of building their mind produce more of what we use, the phone, the internet as well, and that become a problem. So the simple answer is to say that is a lot of people have gotten that place where they can't help themselves. And they believe that if I don't do what I'm told to do, they're going to be a problem. The reason why I said, when they ask this question, what is different between a job and a work? I said a job is what you are told to do. A work is what you tell yourself to do without anybody even supervising you. Okay. That's the difference. So it now becomes that, do you know what? If I leave this thing, how will my life be? And they will now also, as a matter of fact, they'll be informed that the person that left it the other time, he died though. He finished. The same way, some people still convince some people that don't travel to some country. Some people still convince don't travel to Nigeria, for example. Some will say that don't jackpot, for example, and all of that, as they believe so. So the itself is limiting. Don't forget the definition I have before, because it's against love. So it's limiting. It is a bond. It has a lot of laws and regulations. So you are incapacitated about what you need to do. So they have no choice but to walk in a cycle as well.
Meanwhile, religion should be freedom.
Yeah, it should be.
It should be freedom.
It should be freedom. So some are able to now transport from religion into spirituality, and they'll say spirituality is freedom. I can hug and associate with anybody because spirituality says so to me.
So, Dr.Excel,
yes, sir.
Now let's be clear.
Yes, sir.
Fanaticism,
yes, sir,
is only best described as brainwashing. Yeah?
Brain limiting.
Brain limiting.
Brain capped.
For the lazy, for those who are incapable or do not want to dig deep for themselves.
No, a lot of people can be richly religious.
Hypnotism, does it come to play there too?
That is, I once studied a course called neuro programming, how we hypnotize other people and we don't even know we do it.
Yeah, NLP.
NLP, yes. And so hypnotism comes when a marketer is persuasive, he's hypnotizing you with the product. So when they are doing advertisement and they're saying it to you, the guy is hypnotizing very well. So when you get to the store, the bar, you want to drink, you say, give me that drink. You didn't know that you have been hypnotized to take that drink or to take that color. So all I need to do is to flash a red color at you every time. Put a flower, give you a red flower, and make a red color look beautiful. Before you know, as time goes on, when you say, what's your best color? I'm thinking red. That's hypnosis.
It's programming.
And that's what it does. Programming. I like that word.
All right. So, as a parting word for the family, at the beginning of this year, as we talk about religion and being moderate and all of it, what would it be?
Mine will be what I've said before. Individuals should take time out this year. Don't enter into the year with the same way. If you do same thing, same way, you're expected to get certain results. If you're expecting the result, what they call Fanaticism is what they call madness as well. So if you want different results, you will need to follow a different pattern. Okay. So, but most importantly, individual may need to seek help, as well. We are in the part of the world. I was having a session yesterday, and a guy told me something. He said, do you know, it's outside the country, that loads of Nigerians, all of us need the level of intervention as well. And so we need to seek help, maybe by training, and that training gives skills and helps better. Maybe by training, maybe by studying more, maybe by increasing the library. But there's something must be different in the way we go about it. But most important, we need to pay attention to ourselves. A lot of people are paying attention to the next political election instead of paying attention more to themselves because they are the political being that was selected the political leader.
I'm happy you said that.
And so, therefore, people choose people like them. There's not going to be anything different in our next election because we're going to go and choose people like us as well. So the same way we lie to ourselves, when our leader lies to us, we also take the leader that lie because we lie to ourselves. We believe lies to ourselves. So people need to face themselves. On that basis, they will now come up with a structured system to say, do you know what this year? Based on what we are able to come out, my wife, my children, if they have adult children, can we all work together and build a new system? And running for 365 days or maybe 360 days as well this year or less. and let's see how it runs. So another December will come and say, do you know how this work can benefit us? I believe that will cause a great change. The same way we need to do also a medical checkup, do a mental checkup, do an emotional checkup, and it's very doable. And like I wrote this year, I said, enjoy this best year based on how you create it to be.
Okay, all right. Must they be aware of the bigger being, you know, that is not visible, but is believed to be in control? Must they be aware?
Yes, I think believing that a supreme has helped more people. He has also discovered in mental health. I believe that religious home have helped loads of people mentally than we also think. My observation: a lot of people have been running to the express and commit suicide.
Dr.Excel, if I leave you with
that's the question.
We will not.
So we will I think so, but we need to now do it in moderation, so it doesn't become extremist.
Honestly, thank you so much.
I really appreciate you, sir.
Wow.
Thank you, and thanks for always being there for us.
I really appreciate it. Nice meeting you. Be part of this family.
I'm coming for my session.
Yes. Thank you so much.
It's always a delight, hearing from you and
very
learning.
Helpful insight there. Thanks once again for your time.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Okay, thank you, and Happy New Year again. All right, the show is still Today with John and Helen, and you just heard it from him. Keep it moderate, dig deeper into who you are, and that will make a lot of difference. So while we set the stage for the next conversation, which is the mental health bill that has just been signed to law by Mr. President, let's quickly take another break to bring you some messages. The doctor, our guest, is already with us, so do join us again after that break. It's Today with John and Helen. Don't go anywhere.